Welcome to the Katie Wellness Podcast. I am your host, Lindsey Katie, and today I wanted to share with you my health journey. In 2017, I had an inflammatory response in my body. I woke up one morning and my wrist was a little bit tingly, maybe like I had slept on it wrong. And as it went throughout the day, it got more and more sore, more and more inflamed. And by the end of the day, I had a really hard time opening a door or holding on to a knife, washing dishes, any of those regular day-to-day things that I needed to do, I was not able to do. I continued to get more random spots throughout my body that started to swell and get inflamed throughout the next couple of days and weeks. My left collarbone, so I wasn't able to raise my left arm through my neck and into my upper back was very tight. It was as if the muscles had kind of locked in place. They were frozen in place. So I was not able to look left and right. My skin was very hot to the touch. And at the time, I had three young kids. My oldest was 5 and had just started kindergarten. Then I had one that was 3, and my baby was just over 1. So it was a very physically demanding time in my motherhood. And I just was not able to keep up with those demands. I was not able to wash dishes, do laundry, make meals for my family. I was so grateful to have many people, friends, family, ward members, and especially my husband stepped up to take over those roles that I was no longer able to fulfill. And I was really grateful, very humbled to ask for help in such basic ways. But I'm so glad that they were there to step in. Where the onset of this was so sudden, I got into my family doctor as quick as possible, and he ran some blood tests. He definitely could see that something was wrong, because my wrist was swollen to about double the size, but all my blood work was fine. So the blood work is saying, hey, you look great, you look fine. But physically seeing me in person, my doctor knew that something wasn't right. A lot of my symptoms weren't adding up. He was leaning more toward rheumatoid arthritis. And so he referred me to a rheumatologist. I met with a rheumatologist who gave me a cortisone shot in my wrist to help bring down the inflammation and to help with some of the pain. Unfortunately, it did more damage than it did good. It ended up tearing a ligament in my wrist, because my wrist was already so swollen and inflamed. There was no room for any extra liquid. So, unfortunately, that didn't end up going as planned. And two other things that my RA doctor did was he prescribed me 2 medications and he had me run a bunch of labs, a bunch of blood work. I was beginning to feel like a human pincushion. No one could find what was wrong. Obviously, there was something wrong, but no one could give me a definite answer. So the medication that they put me on, one of the medications was methotrexate, and that was supposed to help bring down the inflammation and decrease the pain. And then they also prescribed me a more instant or immediate pain medication that was supposed to help with the pain. And I can't remember what that one was, but the first red flag that I had was learning more about methotrexate. It is sometimes referred to as an anti-cancer drug, and it is very, very hard on the liver. One of the symptoms or one of the side effects is liver damage. So because of that, the RA doctor said you need to get your blood work done every 3 months while you're on this medication to make sure that there's no liver damage. So red flag number one. I knew that I needed to be open to more answers, open to more options, just right from there. I was not even 30 years old yet, and I was already looking at being on these anti-cancer meds for the foreseeable future. That was that was what his recommendation was, his suggestion was moving forward was just stay on this medication and we'll adjust it over time as you need it. As you need more or as you need less, we'll just adjust it that way. A couple of weeks later, so my very first morning of waking up in pain with the tingling sensation in my wrist was mid-September. By mid-November, so it was about 2 months, I had met with doctors and received blood test after blood test. My blood test was fine. It said I was healthy. It said I was normal. Um, but I knew there had to be more to the puzzle. So I continued searching. And one day my dad called me. He told me that his aunt, so this would have been my great aunt, his aunt was going to this doctor in Mexico. He does some alternative therapies, alternative practices. Um, my dad told me what he knew about this doctor, and he said, "Would you want to go?" And at this point, I am desperate, but also I'm still open to that inspiration or the promptings. My husband and I felt really good about going, and it was the thing that I will say kind of changed things for me as far as I was declining so quickly. Mentally, physically, I was deteriorating. I was laying in bed. I was stressing about what was going to happen to me after I was gone, what was going to happen to my kids after I was gone. So mentally, it was not a good time for me. Physically, it was also not a good time for me. So this was the first time in a long time that I had had hope that maybe I was going to get some answers. So the week after Thanksgiving, me and my husband flew with my aunt to San Diego, and we got a driver to come pick us up and take us to the clinic in Tijuana. The doctor that we met with was Dr. Calzada, and he uses a lot of integrative healing modalities. He also uses stem cell treatments and detox therapies, and he focuses on nutrition through an IV while you're in the clinic and then focusing on nutrition while you're at home. And it was really eye-opening to see the different avenues that you can take care of your health, that it's not all about, hey, what medication can we prescribe so that you can feel better? It was really, I felt like it was more of a healing rather than just trying to cover it up or a band-aid fix. So some of the therapies that I did while I was there, every day I got an IV full of nutrients and also like lots of B vitamins. Um, I did different therapies like an ion foot bath where they draw the toxins out of your feet. I did lymphatic massage, colon hydrotherapy. I'll talk about each of these therapies more in depth with a later podcast episode because the science behind them is really fascinating. We also did some energy work there, some radionics is what they call it. But the thing that really tipped the scale the most for me was when they gave me the stem cell injections. So like I said, my muscles, especially in my neck, were kind of frozen. They were stuck in place. I couldn't turn my head without turning my entire torso. When they gave those injections into my neck of the stem cells, within 10 minutes, I could look 45 degrees in both directions. Within 30, I was able to look completely side to side, which I had not been able to do for months. My husband said that if he wouldn't have seen it himself, he would not have been able to believe that the stem cells worked that quickly. It really was the miracle that we had been praying for, that our families had been praying and fasting for. So that because we went to Dr. Calzada, because of the blood testing that they do there, they don't take a sample and send it off to a lab and process it there. They actually take they prick your finger, take your blood, put it on a slide, and look at it under a microscope. when looking at the cells, they look at how they're shaped. Are they sticky? Do they have spikes on them? Are they lemon shaped? Are they dehydrated? Which cells are dying and which cells are thriving? How many white blood cells are there? Is there a high white blood cell count? Do you have a lot of cholesterol in your blood? All of this they can see just through looking at a drop or two of your blood, which I thought was so fascinating. They also look at the blood under a dark field. And it was when they switched it to the dark field view that they were able to see bacteria in my blood. They explain the bacteria as being a cousin to Lyme's disease, and that if, because we were able to catch this early enough, they were able to treat it and to heal from it, essentially. The longer that goes on, the more likely it is to turn into full-blown Lyme's disease. But because we caught it early, we were able to really get it out of there. So they sent me home with some antibiotics to get rid of the bacteria. They sent me home with homeopathic drops, a nutrition plan, vitamins and supplements, and um, just a plan to move forward in my life to keep the progress that I had made and to get the bacteria out of my body so my body could actually heal. I went back to Dr. Calzada's 4 times that first year to get ongoing treatment because my pain levels were so bad. The inflammation was so bad to begin with. There was a lot, like I said, I had a torn ligament, so they were working to heal that as well. After that, I had to pull back a little bit due to family commitments, financial commitments. And I was still able to go every 6 to 8 months for the first little bit, just to get ongoing support. But from that experience, I knew that there were different ways of healing and feeling better out there. That was kind of the first exposure I had had to alternative medicine, and I really liked what I saw. I was really on board with it. And so I kept my eyes open for other exposure to that type of healing, that it wasn't all about a medication or a quick fix. Um, a couple of years after this, so it was probably 2019, maybe it was 2020. Oh, yes, 2020 was when I could no longer go to the clinic because it was really hard to travel. I don't know if you guys remember 2020, but it was really hard to travel. I found a clinic in Idaho that did a lot of the same therapies. And at the time I was living in Utah, so it was a 3 hour drive to get to this clinic. So instead of flying to San Diego and then driving into Mexico, my mom and I went to this clinic in Idaho. Again, a lot of the same similar therapies that they were doing, focusing on detox, on um, flooding the body with nutrients in a good way, and balancing the energy within the body, all of those things. Like, I love that they covered so many different avenues of healing. And after that experience, I didn't make it back to Dr. Calzada's for a couple of years, but I felt like something was still off in my life. And in a lot of ways, I just chalked it up to motherhood, chalked it up to life, that like this is just the new normal. Um, I I was having a lot of fatigue and belly bloating. Like I didn't feel good, but didn't really know how to feel better because I was doing all the things that everybody said. I was drinking all the water. I was exercising every day, even though I was completely exhausted. That should have been a red flag right there, to me to slow down. Also, my perfectionistic tendencies made it so I was trying to white knuckle my way through life. But in that period of time, I was praying for guidance and direction. And I was drawn to this account on Instagram. Natalie at Thrive Family Wellness AZ was talking about her healing journey as she was going through cancer. And I just loved her messaging. I resonated with it from a healing perspective, but I also resonated with it because my grandma was going through breast cancer. And I really loved how positive and encouraging she was. But Natalie reached out to her followers on Instagram and said that she was looking for people to join her team to do epigenetic hair scans in more locations. And I felt very strongly that I needed to reach out to her to learn more, to figure out what would be involved in this. And it was a business opportunity. I did invest in the business. And because I didn't have the right certifications at that time, I did have to go back to school. I received my integrative health practitioner certification in levels 1 and 2. I will talk about IHP in a, a later episode as well. A lot of valuable stuff that I learned in those courses. Once I finished school, I invested in the business. I got set up, I got going. And the more clients that I helped, the more I recognized a need for um, ways to support people emotionally. And that's when I got into um, integrative processing technique, which is a modality that works to retrain the brain. It works on coping mechanisms. I am going to do a full episode. This one needs its own just to explain the it's so amazing. It's such a cool healing modality. I've received many personal benefits just through going through the training. But I love that I've been able to help so many people with as I have become a emotional release facilitator. So my health journey has never been in here was my start point, here was my end point. It went in a straight line. There were lots of setbacks. There were lots of times that I would jump forward in healing and thinking I was doing a great job, and then one thing would set me off, and I would be back in pain and trying all the things to help my body to feel better. But one thing that I have learned through all of this, through all the ups, through all the downs, is that our bodies are capable of healing, that it is our privilege and our responsibility to provide the best environment for that healing to take place. And the journey is going to look different for everyone. There is no one size fits all for health because all of us are so different. Our genetics are different. Our the way we the way we handle and process stress is different for every single one of us. Our personalities are different. The energy that we have within our body, our experiences, sometimes our emotions get stuck inside of our bodies. It's our job to learn what our bodies need and to give our bodies those things that it needs so that it can heal, so that it can be full of life, so it can get out of survival mode. That is my goal with this podcast, is just to share the things that I have learned through personal experience and through helping my clients to to feel better, to heal, to get answers to their prayers, to their health questions, so that they can feel better. Because I truly believe that you are capable of healing, that you are worthy of health, that you are worthy of thriving instead of just surviving. Your habits matter, and we'll talk about specific habits that help to improve your wellness and to prevent dis-ease within the body. Our society has relied on quick fixes for too long, and it is destroying our health. I want to give you alternative options. I want to give you a different perspective on what healing actually is and help you heal at a cellular level, at a root level. So that's where like my slogan comes in is I am rooting for you, right? You deserve healing at a cellular level. And I want to give you tools and resources for you to provide the best environment so that you can heal and that you can feel better because you are worthy of that. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sticking around to listen to my story. I'm so excited to share more about processing, about the clinic that I go to in Mexico with Dr. Calzada, integrative health practitioner. I've got lots of episodes lined up for you guys. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you again next week.